Well, here we are. It is Wednesday, October 22nd. And as I've been saying in the last couple of weeks, there are a number of good sales turning up in London and in England in general, not just London, in the month of November. They traditionally do this after Asia Week in New York. It's a very good series of auctions. And I urge you, especially if you're in the UK, check them out. Check out these sales. I'm going to try to cover as many of them as I can before they start. I think there's 5 or 6 pretty good ones. I was looking at them this morning that are coming up. I'm going to do some one of them today, which is for the Dreweatts sale. It's a 2-part sale, starting on the 12th of November and again on the 13th. And it's an interesting load of stuff, and it's a real look, sort of a peek into what you still find in these English country houses. A lot of these pieces have been there, I suspect, for a very long time, according to some of the provenances we're seeing. And not all of them are perfect. They have some pieces that have hairlines and minor condition issues and so forth because they've been used for hundreds of years over there, and they're coming to the market. And it's an interesting mix. If you like jades, there's some good jades in this sale. There's some very nice brush pots. There's some good blue and white. There's some nice enamel wares. There's some good mark and period pieces, and we'll go through them, and you'll see what I mean. And if you haven't gotten an account yet at Dreweatts through their own platform, I would urge you to do it. The buyer's premium there is an inducement is just 27%, which I say just 27%, like, compared to years ago, it seems high. But if you bid through some of the other platforms that they register with and sell on, I suspect this sale will also be on Live Auctioneers in the next day or so. I didn't notice it there yet, but we'll check back. It's going to be a little higher. You're going to pay an extra 4 or 5%. And I've done business at Dreweatts in the past on a few occasions, and they're extremely nice people to deal with. So don't be afraid to get in touch with them, and they're quite responsive. It's a very professional company. Any rate, these are the 2 sales, and we'll just sort of run through some of the lots that caught my eye. You're going to find things you probably like, but these are the things that sort of struck me as being rather interesting. And we're going to start with this really nice and very unusual painting of a military commander, a Chinese export or Chinese watercolor on paper. And we'll see if this will blow up for us here. The quality of the work here is really quite excellent. If you take a look at it, the details of the robe, the facial expressions. Now it says it's had some sort of I think it's probably pretty minor, some sort of restoration in the center. I don't see where it is. Maybe they'll be able to point it out to you if you inquire. It may be a very small area. Dreweatts tends to mention things that tiny repairs. They're quite good on their condition reports because they don't want any headaches later on, I guess. So they may mention something that's extremely just a minor thing, but they let you know that it's there. So it reflects well on them. But this is a tremendous watercolor. I love the facial expression of the man. He's pulling his beard down a little bit. He's in deep contemplation. And then you have this very elaborate robe. Absolutely, a great silk robe with his cape over him and so forth. Very, very nice picture. The estimate on it is pretty reasonable. $400 to $600, or 400 to 600 pounds. 400-pound opening bid. Seems like a no-brainer. It's awfully nice. It's a foot by what is it? The picture measures 12 and a half inches tall by around about 9 inches wide, roughly. All right, it's a good looking painting. And then this is a very nice dragon robe, or court robe, Mandarin court robe. Bring this up. There you go. Quite unusual pattern. This looks like a late Qing example from what I'm seeing here, but very nicely done. But the pattern is quite unusual, and the dragon looks like it's done in silver metallic thread. I don't know how they've dated it. They dated late Qing, late 19th century. That's how they dated it. I agree with that. That's about right. But it's an unusual robe. So if you like unusual patterns on robes, this is a good example. You'll notice, I'll bring it back up again, all these little devices here over sort of a net background with bats and silver. They look like silver wired dragons. I would ask them about that. Are the wires, instead of being in gilt, is it silver threads? Because it does look like that. And that's pretty unusual on one of these. Usually they're just gold threads. But the colors are vibrant. The colors look good on it. Nice looking robe. The estimate is pretty modest, 3 to 5,000 pounds with a 2,400 pound opening bid. All right, and then over to this. Now, this is really interesting. This is a pair of Chinese watercolors, but they're done in the manner of William Hogarth, who was a European painter, of course, very well known. And these pictures came from. Hold on. There we go. Came from the collection of Mrs. Getty, and I guess they were sold a few years ago. I don't remember them in the Getty sale, so maybe they'd been sold somewhere else. I'm not sure, but very interesting. The two very classic paintings by Hogarth were copied apparently by a China trade artist. So if you like really unusual China trade paintings, this would be it. It's something to really go after. I like it a lot. They measure. The paintings measure 61 centimeters by 46 centimeters. So they're fairly large paintings. These are big pictures. So they're almost 2 feet wide and about 18 inches tall, plus the frames. So they're fairly large. Keep that in mind for shipping purposes. And it says here, previously in the collection of Anne and Gordon Getty, purchased at Sotheby's, New York, 1990. All right. There they are. So that's when the Getty family got, but they must have been in that Getty sale a few years ago. They're awfully attractive, though. They're very interesting historically, too. And then the winged dragon jar. There's some nice Cloisonne pieces in the sale. This is one that just caught my eye. I just thought it was awfully interesting. It's late Ming to transitional period, but beautiful quality all the way around on it. There we go. And see if we can bring it in. There we go. Very nice quality. The dragon, the red is excellent on it. It looks to be in quite good condition. Pretty classic Ming lappets around the bottom. And the color of the cobalt is very nice. It's a very a fairly bright color, I think. A fairly bright cobalt. And it's got a nice egg yolk yellow, some of the minor enamels on it. It's nicely done. And it's not a huge jar. This isn't a great big thing that you're going to have trouble shipping. But just so you realize, if you haven't looked at a lot of Ming Cloisonne, this is what the groundwork looks like on late Ming Cloisonne pieces and some early Qing. Lots of pock marks, little firing errors, and so forth. Fairly common on these. There's that famous giant dragon jar at the British Museum. And if you look at that up close, it's full of little enamel bites all over it, just like up in here. Very, very typical. So if you see those, it's a good sign, typically. And this jar only measures around, 12 centimeters high. So it measures about 4 or 5 inches tall. It's not a very, very large jar, but I think it's beautifully done. The estimate on it is 2,000 to 3,000 pounds with an 1,800 pound starting bid. But it's a beautiful piece, a very sweet little piece. And again, easy to ship. All right. And then you have this Amadeus Chinese gilt bronze Buddha figure. This is a nice one. It's fairly large. It's almost 12 inches tall. This is a fairly large one. The base plate is missing off of it, but not everybody cares about that too much. But the casting of it is excellent, and the gilding is still in really, really good condition. If you look at it carefully, you don't have to look at it that carefully. You can tell by just looking at it. Most of the gilding is intact, and many of these late Ming bronzes, as you know, the gilding is rubbed through significantly in some places. This one is in good condition overall, I think. It is 29.5 centimeters tall. So it's just a skosh under 12 inches tall. It's got an estimate of 4,000 to 6,000 pounds, which seems to be pretty reasonable for these. They typically sell for somewhere in the $8,000 to $12,000 range most of the time in this size. This one is at the starting bid of just 4,000 pounds. Nice looking bronze. And then there's quite a few small jades in the sale. If you like small, very delicately done jades, you really want to look at this. But this is a nice one. It's a Ming example of a crouching boy. And it's a small one, of course. These are all fairly small. But the carving on it is quite good. It's got a nice polish. The head is well detailed and well proportioned. The arms, they've got the folds and the robes and all that business. And it looks like a nicely done piece. He's holding a cup in his hand, like he's having a little something to sip on. And it's fairly small, 4.5 centimeters tall or 4.2 centimeters and 5.5 centimeters in long in width. So it's around that works out to about just a hair under 2 inches tall and a little over 2 inches wide, roughly. So it's a small stone. It's like a pebble. And the estimate is 2,000 to 3,000 pounds with a 2,000 pound opening bid. And then the next one over is this one. This is also a really charming example. It's a Qing example, 18th or 19th century probably, and it measures 8.2 centimeters long and 5.3 centimeters wide. So 8.2 centimeters. That's about three or so inches. But it's beautifully carved. It has a wonderful polish on it, and it's a white russet jade carving of a catfish. And you do see catfish in Chinese carving sometimes. There he is, and he's resting on a lotus pod. It's a really charming a bit of stonework, I think. And the russet jade was incorporated beautifully. This is a nice example. It's a very, very sweet example. And the estimate is 2,000 to 3,000 with an 1,800 pound opening bid. But quite nice. And the stone, let's see, is natural flaws and inclusions, and that's it. So there's no damage to it, and you don't have to worry about any restoration because you don't generally want to buy restored jades unless it's extremely rare. All right, and then over to this, the Chinese bamboo. There's some nice Chinese bamboo brush pots. This is a particularly nice one. It's probably an early 18th century example. They dated it as 17th or 18th century, but it looks like a early 18th century one to me. But the polish on it's very good. There we go. It's pixelating a little bit. There we go. Nicely done, well polished. It's got an affixed lower wooden rim to it. All throughout, the details look good. The figures, the pine tree, all of it looks very fine and very nicely kept too. I don't get any sense that this thing has been abused at all. Sometimes they are. Sometimes brush pots, people have them on their desk. They use them to throw pens in, and they get chipped up and banged around. Here's another side of it. Nicely done again. Well polished. Beautiful color, warm honey color. It looks very good. And then there's this one. It's a Huanghuali inlaid brush pot. This one is 18th century, and there's a lot of copies of these floating around. This is a real one. You don't see the real ones terribly often. You see a lot of the early Republic examples that they produced and so forth. They turned out a lot of those, but this is an old one. And there we go. Nicely inlaid with with little hard stones and so forth, with blossoming flowers, nicely colored, and well proportioned and well cut, well fitted to the piece. It's a very, very handsome little pot. And here's another shot of it here. There it is. If you like brush pots, this is a good one. It's very, very colorful and quite pleasing to look at, I think. Awfully nice. 18th century, estimated at 2,000 to 3,000 with a 2,000 pound opening bid. It's worth that. It really is. I've seen the Republic period ones sell for 2,000 pounds. And this is a good 18th century one. It's much older, and I wonder where it came from. It just says private collection. Let's see. There's one old chip to the rim. I couldn't see it, and so there's a couple of minor chips to the wood on the external rim, but as you just saw, we were looking at it. If there was a chip there, it's awfully small. They mentioned like I said, they mentioned everything. So you have to always go back and check and see what they consider to be a chip. Dreweatts' idea of a chip is something we nobody typically even notices, but that's how they do it. They're very meticulous. This is a Daoguan cup. This is quite nice. This is a beautiful little cup. Very good Daosai enameling on it. I love the dragon going around the outside. The roux heads are beautifully done. The potting is excellent on this. The lappets around the base are beautifully shaped and so forth. It measures, what is this, about 8 centimeters high or something? Yeah, 8 centimeters in height. So it's a little under 5 inches tall. It's just or a little under 4 inches rather. It's about 3.5 inches in height, but a beautiful little beaker cup. Estimated at 1,000 to 1,500 pounds, which I think is quite reasonable. 1,000 pound opening bid, should get there all day. And it's got a it's got a mark on it that it's got the Chen Zai Shi mark on the bottom. It's in red, I'm assuming. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. There it is. And you can find this one in Davison's book, of course. You can look it up and do the research on it. If you don't have Davison's book yet, get it. Save yourself hours and hours of looking around the internet for signatures. All right, and then over to here, a nice little Ming Dynasty blue and white Jiajing Marken period dish of a dragon and phoenix patterned saucer. It's not very, it's pretty good size. It's a little over 5 inches in diameter, but nice deep dark blue cobalt on this. I like it. I like this quite a lot. I like the facial expression of it, and I love the way they elongated the tail feathers of the phoenix going around the outside, and how much they elongated the head of the phoenix coming off the body, and because the body in this case, often the bodies in Chinese paintings of phoenixes are quite large, and the tail feathers are scaled properly, and the neck isn't quite so long. In this case, they made the body pretty small, I think maybe to fit within the border, and then they gave it a really long neck coming off, and then the swooping tail feathers off the bottom. And this is a Marken period one. And Marken period Jiajing wares are very, very popular. And this is a very nice example. And the estimate is 3,000 to 5,000 pounds with a 3,000 pound opening bid. But keep in mind, it's Marken period and it's Ming. So there you go. All right, and then over to this. This is a nice looking Wanli crack. A double gourd vase. We've seen these before. They're often illustrated in books. You find these often shown as good examples in books. They date it to around 1600. It measures around, it's 34 centimeters in height. So it is, about 13 or 14 inches tall, something like that. So it's a pretty good sized vase. It's not a 5 or 6 inch vase. It's 14 inches roughly in height. And here it is. And the patterning on it's very, very good. So I'd have to say this is probably earlier in the Wanli period rather than later, because the decoration quality slid a bit during the latter parts of the Wanli era. But early on, the work they did was very close to the quality of the work that they were also doing during the Jiajing period. But this is a nice looking double gourd vase. Very carefully outlined, filled in beautifully. Nice white porcelain. It's got a good shine to it, good gloss. Check the condition reports and do all that. But it looks awfully good. Estimated at 4,000 to 6,000 pounds. But keep in mind, it's a pretty good sized vase. This is a big vase. It's not a little vase. It's a big one. And a 3,000 pound opening bid seems reasonable. All right, and then over to this. These are interesting. It's a pair of Mei Ping vases from the let's see here. What did they say they were? Wanli, I assume, right? Oh, Wanli. Okay, there they are. And these were bought in Hong Kong, I guess, back in the 90s, according to the report. But awfully nice looking. There they are. With their lids, no less. Keep that in mind. These have lids. Wanli Mei Ping vases rarely have lids because they go the way of most lids. They get taken off, put in a drawer, lost, forgotten, see ya, and nobody ever thinks much about them because they tend to be pretty small. But these are a nice pair of Mei Pings, and they are how tall are these now? 27 centimeters, so about 9 inches, 10 inches in height, roughly, somewhere around there. So they're pretty good size. And the estimate is 4,000 to 6,000 pounds with a 4,000 pound opening bid. That seems very reasonable for these, for a pair with lids in that size, and good quality work. Very, very nice. And I think somewhere in here they said they still have the receipt, or they have some information formerly from the private collection of Europeans, purchased from the Chinese Arts and Crafts Limited in Hong Kong in August 1991, together with the certificate of authenticity. Remember they used to give out those over there? Unfortunately, they put certificates of authenticity on everything they sold much of the time. But these are legitimate. These are legitimate. And the Arts and Crafts store actually had a rather good reputation for selling nice things. So you're all right with that. But I always find certificates of authenticity to be kind of funny. At any rate, and then you have a reserve red and decorated lotus bowl. And these are a very well-known style of bowl. These were done during the Qianlong period. Let's see, are they calling it of the period? That's the question. Yeah, they are. They're calling it Marken period. And I'm going to go with their assessment of it because they know what they're doing. Dreweatts has some good Asian people working with them. This is a very attractive bowl. And it's actually quite a bit better than some of the ones you typically see. It is extremely neatly done. The potting is nice. The foot is very, very well shaped coming up. The shape of the side of the bowl is very attractive. And all of the flowers, the lotus flowers and all that, the chrysanthemums, those are lotuses, I guess, are awfully nice looking. Very delicately painted, nicely shaded, very sensitively done bowls. bowl, and it is estimated at 5 to 7 thousand pounds with a 5,000 pound opening bid, and it measures just a hair under 6 inches in diameter, about 5 inches in diameter. So if it's 5 inches in diameter, it's about probably 4.5 inches in height, somewhere around there. 4 inches in height. It's a good looking bowl. If you've been looking for a nice chinlung bowl, you might want to look at this. The mark on it looked very good on it. On the base, there it is. You can come over. They provide lots of pictures too. I like Dreweatts for doing this. So you have lots of pictures you can look at, and they zoom in, as you can see, quite well. All right, and then over to this, the stem cup. This is a nice one, a Lanka stem cup, Qianlong period. It certainly appears to be Marken period. It's a very nice example, and these turn up every once in a while. You'll see them in New York and so forth. They're rather rare. Once in a while, a pair of them will turn up. There you go. This one is beautifully done. The heaping and piling effect, of course, is a holdover sort of from the Ming Dynasty, but the lotuses and then the characters running around the outside, the Buddhist beads running around the bottom. The rain mark is on the inside of the foot, on the inside wall of the foot, not straight up inside, but on the wall of the base of the foot. And you can go and look at that if you'd like. The estimate is 3,500 to 4,000, 4 to 6,000 pounds. That might be a bit low, just so you know. Typically, these cups, when they sell for 9 to 12,000 dollars a piece. Well, I guess 6,000 pounds puts it up pretty close to about 8,000. It'll probably sell. My point is, it'll probably sell for a little more than that if other sales histories are any indication. Think more in the 8 to 10,000 pound area. Do it that way if you think of bidding on this. But it's a very nice cup, and it appears to be in good shape. And it came from the Alfred Stedman Cotton Collection. He died in 1952 and then went through his family by descent. So, like I said, some of these pieces have been in families for a long time, and now they're finally coming back into the market after a few generations. Not an unusual circumstance. And then over to this. This is a really interesting dish. It's a Western chamber dish in Famille Rose. It is, let's see, it's Marken period Daoguan. And pull this up. There we go. Very interesting design, though. Very interesting palette, the way they did this. It almost looks like Mandarin export wares, but it's not. And then you have the border decoration with pavilions and so forth running around, a little village scene on the side and all this, which is a very interesting way of doing it. Interesting landscape scene. It's a little bit tipped here in the photograph, so it's not your eyes. It's the way they took the picture. And then you have this fellow inside the moon window on this side, watching out while he's looking at some scrolls, and two maidens on the terrace. The plate measures. How wide is this thing? It's probably fairly small. 20 centimeters in diameter. So it's just about 8 inches in width. Estimated at 8 to 1,000 pounds with an 800 pound opening bid, which I think is perfectly fine. This is a very unusual plate. Here's the back of it. And it's got these beautiful butterfly patterns. The back of it's as pretty as the front of it, which is rather nice. Beautifully done butterflies around it. And they believe this to be Marken period. I don't see any reason to argue with them. And I'm assuming that the rain mark aligns with the front of the plate because all the pictures are tipped. But you should when you look at the rain mark on the bottom of a plate, and it's vertically readable. If you take the plate and flip it, you should be looking straight ahead at the scene of the plate if it's a directional plate like this is. So if it's off center, then there might be something wrong with it. But the rain mark should align with the face of the front of the piece typically. So just keep that in mind when you're authenticating things. All right. At any rate, 800 to 1,000 pounds. And then the second day, they've got a bunch more stuff. They've got these. I've always liked these. I always mention these when I see them because I just like the color palette so much. It's these underglazed blue and slip decorated, underglazed blue slip decorated Celadon vases with those nice handles on them. I just think these are very striking and beautifully done. They made them in the 18th century. They made them in the 19th century. And here they are. And when they're really, really well done, like this one is, the underglazed blue and all the decorative work almost looks like like the images are floating on the Celadon. There's a slight, almost it looks like there's a shadow on them. They're not floating, they're not elevated much. Sometimes they're slightly elevated, but sometimes they look very elevated, like they're floating over the face of the vase visually. But the way the rocks here at the bottom here, you'll notice, are extremely delicately done. This is a very well done pair of vases. One of them has some condition issues. I forget, it's got a hairline or something in it. So you can read the condition report and check with the Dreweatts about it. But these are fairly large. These aren't small vases. These are pretty good size. They're about 16 inches or so, as I recall. 40 centimeters in height. So they are 16 inches tall. Right. And the estimate's pretty reasonable. Not 800 to 1,200 pounds, which I think is very reasonable for two of these, for the pair, plus 800 pounds in opening bid. So check those. And by the way, one of the things you do want to do, you have the time to do it. If you're thinking of placing a bid here, they have some good shippers. They had a very good shipper that I used over there. He was wonderful. Remember, when you call and talk to an auction house, and they'll give you a list of shippers because they're not supposed to show a preference. But if you say to them, look, who's the one that the dealers go back to over and over and over again? Who's the shipper? There's always one, it seems. There's always one. They go, oh, yeah, that's Fred at the UPS store. Because there are certain guys that do the shipping business that really want the shipping business, and they're the first ones to get mentioned. And I always ask that question, and I always get 99% of the time I get a good shipper. All right, and then over to this. This is coming up on day number 2. There's a couple of very nice pieces of Japanese amari or Rita. And this is an early one. This is a second half of the 17th century dish or bowl. Pull this up. It's got very interesting coloring on the inside. It's got this beautiful interior of underglazed blue, and then all these enamels around the outside. All right, and I think this is probably done during the end of the 17th century, but wonderfully decorated. This is a very unusual example to be decorated in this fashion with that color combination. And here's the exterior with these, there you go, with the lotus and vine pattern. And you got the classic sort of dog or tooth border, or square, like dental work border around the bottom, and the bottom of it's just plain. And the estimate is very reasonable, I think, 600 to 800 pounds with a 500-pound opening bid. This is quite a bowl, and it was exhibited at the British Museum and Art Gallery in Bristol, England, in 2002 through 2023. So this was on loan at the museum for over 21 years. All right, it's quite a handsome piece. So it may be the lender passed away and the family said it's time to sell it. All right, but if you're looking for a really interesting piece of Arita, this is it. And then there's this one, also really interesting, Kakiemon style Arita porcelain, late 17th century again. And this one is very meticulously painted. The dragon on this is really good in the middle, beautifully finished, and it's got this nice scrolling outer border with a little brown dressing on the rim. And flip it over, as I recall, the side of it was rather pretty. Yeah, it's this. It's a like a lotus pond, like a pond scene, like flowers coming up out of a garden on the edge of a pond. Very interestingly done. The shading of this reminds me a great deal of that Arita vase that just sold this past week that we talked about in the Friday video. That faceted Arita vase that sold for about $2,000. It sold for 2012 with the premium $2,600 or so. I had the same shading, the same style of painting, which is very attractive. I think awfully pretty. And this bowl is again estimated at 1,000 to 1,500 pounds with an 800-pound opening bid, and it measures a little over 8 inches in diameter, 8.5 inches in diameter. Again, a very nice looking one. And this was also on loan to that museum, as was the other one. I think all these pieces came from the same collection. I think this is what the deal is here. And this is a nice pair of big amari jars. These are from a private, just as a gentleman, from an English country house collection. There you go. All right. And this is a big pair of jars. Keep that in mind. If you like big Amari jars, you want to go after these maybe. But they're 61 centimeters tall. So they're about almost 25 inches in height. And they have their these high dome lids with fu lines on them. Now, according to the condition report, one of the lids has a restoration to it, which isn't a shock at all. If you're buying a Rita or Amari or Chinese porcelain for that matter, doesn't matter. If they've got lids, often the lids are repaired. They slide off, they fall. People pick up the jar thinking the lid, they try to move the jar without taking the lid off, thinking they could probably do it without the extra step, and the lid falls off and shatters, and that's it. So damaged lids shouldn't come as a shock to anybody. It's a benefit. It's a bonus if they're not, but it's not a rare occurrence. But these are very, very attractive pots. I like these a lot. Nice dark blue. The gilding on them looks to be in quite good condition everywhere. I'm sure there's some minor rubbing to it just because it came out of an English country house. But boy, the gilding on these look awfully good. So no house servant ever cleaned these with ammonia because the gilding would be gone. And they are estimated at just 2,000 to 3,000 pounds with a 2,000 pound opening bid. Condition overall, very presentable condition. Bodies, the bases of each are in good condition, but both cover rims have had minor restoration. There you go. So check those out. Now, it's interesting. A month or so ago, Dreweatts had a couple of other big Rita jars, and maybe they've got a collector in the area for these things, but they had a couple of big Amari type jars that were of this age, early 18th century, late 17th century. These are probably early 18th century. That brought a lot of money. That brought $6,000-7,000 for a couple of pots. So we'll see if lightning strikes twice. I commented on the video. I thought they got a heck of a good result, and that pressure may resume on this sale too. For these, you don't know, but they're awfully good looking. So if you like Amari, look into these. And also in the sale, there are a couple of more Cantonese watercolors of Taoist immortals. They're all framed and ready to go. These are rather nicely done. A nice French mat going around the outside, ready to put on your wall, and they measure 26 by 33 centimeters. So they're a little over a foot tall. These aren't too big, but it's a good size. They wouldn't be hard to ship. And they're estimated very modestly at just 200 to 300 pounds with a 10-pound opening bid. You'll notice some of the lots in here, they say they're being sold without reserve. Always double check that, all right? These apparently don't have a reserve on them, I'm assuming. Not with that starting price. All right. There's also some good snuff bottles in the sale. If you're a snuff bottle buyer, you want to check it out. There's some lots with underglazed blue and underglazed red snuff bottles. They're selling the cylindrical bottles with these elaborate, landscape scenes in them. Groups of 5 with estimates of $800 to $1,200, that sort of thing. And as you all know, the underglazed blue and underglazed red ones by themselves can sell for $500 to $600, $700 sometimes. So they're putting lots of them together with very modest estimates. You want to check those out. But this is a nice one. This is a very attractive double gourd coral snuff bottle, and they're dating it to the Daoguan era. We can get that to open. There we go. It's beautifully done, beautifully polished. I love the butterfly in it, low relief carving of a butterfly and all the little details. It looks to be in very, very nice condition. The color is good. The stopper looks all right. And the condition is overall natural blemishes and flaws. The coral has no damage. In other words, you might see a minor spot of rubbing on it, something, but there's nothing of note to worry about with it. And the estimate is 600 to 800 pounds with a 10-pound opening bid. So again, I assume that one is not being sold with a reserve. There's another great looking bottle. This is a Peking glass melon shaped bottle, probably mid to late 19th century, but it's inscribed with calligraphy. There's rows of calligraphy running down the outside in green. There they are. And this is a beautifully done example. This wonderful pink color. I love the way the leaves are done. It's got a jadeite stopper on it, and it's melon formed. And I love a good little stand. The stand is a good one because these are hard to get stands for. These little melon shapes because they tend to have very tiny bases. And it measures. Does it say how big it is? 6.5 centimeters, 6.8 centimeters in height. So it's around. That works out to about 3, a little around 2.5, 3 inches in height, somewhere around there. All right, estimated at $800, 800 to £1,000, an 800-pound opening bid. Good looking piece though. And then there's some rank badges, a whole bunch of rank badges in the sale. I should have mentioned that sooner when I was mentioning the robe. There's a bunch of rank badges in the sale. This is just one of them. It's a military rank bag, second class, second rank military badge. Let's see here. How are they dating it? Mid 1870, mid to late 19th century. Very attractive. If you like rank badges, do check out. There we go. There we have it. If you like rank badges, check it out. There's some nice examples in there. And there's other silks too. There's other silks. There's some brondels. There's some other pieces. So go through it for those. And then the last thing on here is this. This is absolutely charming. I just threw it in at the end. It's got a £10 opening bid. And it's only got a 200 to 300 pound estimate. And I think it should have a higher one. This is a very nice late Ming, late 16th century, late Ming, probably Wanli period of a falcon on its rest. And this is a small one. It looks like it might have been a piece for the Japanese market. Tianchi wears, measures about 6 inches in diameter, but just charming and unusual scene with a hawk on it. It's not a falcon, it's a hawk probably. Maybe it is a falcon. It's hard to tell the way they draw them. But he's on his perch, and around the outside are flowers and fauna and so forth. This is just a charming scene and not the typical one that you see on these plates. It's quite unusual. And I think the estimate is extremely reasonable. And the starting price, of course, is just nothing. And it's going to go up in 10-pound increments. I don't blame them for that. Because normally increments, if you don't know, often they go up by 10% for each one. Well, if you start at $10, 10 pounds, the next one is 11 pounds. And you're going to have to do a lot of bidding. So they're doing it. The increments go up in 10-pound increments. Perfectly reasonable. Again, 13.4 centimeters in diameter. It's got a scratch on the base. That's it. It's in good condition. And that's the sale. So it's sort of an interesting auction. And if you're looking for some mischief to get into, you might want to check it out. They also have, on day number 2, they are offering a number of extensive collection of past auction catalogs, including the Ming and Qing collection and some other very specific great collections that have gone through the big auction houses over the last 30 years, and you might find those worth chasing too. And but check on the international shipping rates for books. Sometimes you can get a bargain with those because books, as you know, are heavy and they can be expensive to ship. But if they have a book rate arrangement, because I don't know what it is from the UK to the US right now, so you want to check on that with their shipper. But there's some large reference auction catalogs coming up for sale, large group of them, and there's about, I think there's eight or 10 lots. I'm not sure, but there's some good reference material in there. So do look into that. And the sale, as I said at the beginning, is on the 12th to the 13th of November. It's a few weeks away, so you have plenty of time to look into it. Today's just the 22nd of October, so you've got 3 weeks to get the information that you need to get registered and check it out. All right. And when I get the time, we're going to do some other sales that are coming up. We're going to try and get to a number of them. All right. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be back Friday with a regular video, if not before. And thanks for watching, and subscribe if you haven't so far. All right. Bye-bye.